Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. I am Patrick Daugherty. Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. Joined by Denny Carter, Kyle Dvorchak. If you saw me flinch on the video, I thought I was muted, but I actually wasn't muted. That's because no one could ever mute this voice. Kyle's been trying to silence me in the group chat.
Yeah, I don't have that power. As soon as they give me admin powers on this account, mute instantly, speed of light. But for now, I mean, understandably, they won't give me that.
Kyle's been suppressing my free speech on the group chat, but that's neither here nor there, and there's nothing he can do about it today when we're going to preview the AFC Championship game, the NFC Championship game, Rams at the Seahawks. Seahawks, 2.5-point home favorites. Patriots at the Broncos. Pats, 5.5-point road favorites. Broncos looking for any good news after Bo Nix broke a bone in his ankle. They could get it in the form of J.K. Dobbins' return, but that seems highly uncertain. We have no idea if that's going to actually happen. Also, I don't think J.K. Dobbins' return is going to affect the spread too much. No. So we'll just see what happens. Two really fascinating games. Would have been more fascinating if Bo Nix had not gotten injured, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to break down the title tilts from every angle. Before we do so, we're going to have to hop back on the coaching carousel. Mike McDaniel removes his name from Browns head coach consideration. That's all the rage of late. Jesse Minter has also done that. We'll talk about that. To head to L.A. to partner up with Jim Harbaugh. Fascinating pairing that we'll break down. The Bucs, who cast a really, really wide net for their new offensive coordinator. They've settled on Zac Robinson, formerly of the Atlanta Falcons, I believe, correct?
Yes.
We'll check in on the Browns head coaching search, which is going really well. It's going really well.
There are still people willing to coach the Browns, I think.
They're interviewing 28-year-olds. All the former retreads are turning them down. But we begin where we ended last show, Denny, Buffalo Bills. Things are going really well. Things are going really well there, too, almost as well as Cleveland.
Yeah.
Right? The Bills, I think they needed to fire Sean McDermott. I think they needed to attempt another final piece of the puzzle. Again, he's just begging a seventh chance. Just give me a seventh chance and I can fix this. I swear to God, I'll fix this on the seventh chance. Everybody. And I don't think anyone would have found firing him in a vacuum too controversial. When it was paired with not firing GM Brandon Beane, Bills fans who I've never heard be so upset about Brandon Beane are not acting like he's like the devil. I hated him all along. Not definitely just since Sunday when we lost again. I've hated Brandon Beane this whole time. I don't even know where I'm going with this, Denny. They don't like Brandon Beane. They are on the defensive. The owner, Brandon Beane, who is someone they put kind of left hanging out to dry. Denny, a former second-round pick. This is a horrible setup for you. Just tell people about what happened with the Bills' ownership and Keon Coleman.
Yeah, Brandon Beane and Terry Pegula, the Bills' owner, had
definitely how you say it.
Yeah,
we have no idea. We have no clue how to say it. It's an extremely difficult last name.
The G is silent. Pegula. So they had one of the more embarrassing press conferences I've seen recently, maybe in my life.
Pathetic, groveling, shameless are all words I'd use to describe it.
It was bizarre.
Part of that press conference was for the owner to interrupt the president of football operations, Brandon Beane, and say, by the way, Brandon had nothing to do with Keon Coleman, drafting Keon Coleman, who, in this discussion during this press conference, the acknowledgement was that's a giga bust. Like Coleman is a bust.
So can we not do this in front of the media in regards to Keon Coleman? Parents are getting divorced and they're both like, I know it's the kid's fault, but I didn't want it. Coleman's 24 years old. Don't do this to him.
Yeah. So the owner said that it was the coaching staff that pushed for Keon Coleman. It was not Brandon Beane. There is video of Brandon Beane before the draft saying that he was glad that Keon Coleman tested poorly at the NFL Combine so that he could then get him a little later than he thought.
Yeah, there's also video too of him saying we were dialed in on him.
Yeah,
the whole time.
It's multiple videos. We have different angles of this. We have the all 22. We have the close-up. We have interviews of different ways of Brandon Beane saying he's excited to get Keon Coleman in some capacity.
Yeah. So this was basically saying this was McDermott's fault. This bust, the second round receiver bust, was McDermott's fault, and our GM doesn't have anything to do with our draft picks. That's kind of what the acknowledgement was. Really pathetic. Yeah, like Kyle said, really pathetic display. They said, okay, so Pegula said that the decision was made specifically because of the Denver loss. He didn't mention anything else. He said that because there were guys crying in the locker room, they had no choice but to fire Sean McDermott. I guess it's the first time the NFL players have been upset after a season-ending loss.
Wasn't even a top 10 McDermott choke job either. That's why that one doesn't really hold any water. And also, the legend at the time was the reason they got Keon Coleman was that Josh Allen was banging the table.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Blame him.
Yeah, blame Josh. Blame Josh for this. But so, yeah, I don't think anyone would have blamed the Bills, Kyle, for wanting to shake things up, make it because that's all you really need to say. Like, we think really highly of Sean, but we just want to try something different. We don't even know if this is going to work. We just need to shake it up. Sometimes you have to shake it up. Sometimes you need a new pair of eyes. Instead, they said, no, it was because of this one game, and it was really because of this one player. And that's why he's out.
I said on a Tuesday show, we had a good discussion about it. We don't see it the same way. That's okay. That's still legal. We can do that. I said, if this decision was made based on that one loss, that's a tragedy. And then the owner was like, yeah, definitely. It was just based on the one loss. And I was like, no, that's
which makes truly no sense because you could again point to the entire body of evidence. Yeah. We're the first team in NFL history to win a playoff game 6 straight years without even making the Super Bowl. We know we're good. We just need someone else to put it over the top. It's nothing personal to Sean. It's a rough business. Yeah. It's a real rough business. Yeah. We wish Sean well as he coaches the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals fans, by the way, are dialed in on Sean McDermott. They want this to happen bad. Something I've been following on social media. But the Bills, the vibes are not well. They are poor. Even Denny, no stranger to poor vibes. This is the Philadelphia Eagles, and we don't have to talk about this very long. But it seems like they're trying to. I talk about the final piece of the puzzle in Buffalo. It looks like the Eagles are searching for the final bad vibe to make this project the most toxic in NFL history. And that is Matt Nagy interviewing for their offensive coordinator position and potentially getting it. There's we really think this could be the final thing that truly destroys all team cohesion and the camaraderie. And we really think this would be the right move to sink this current incarnation of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, they're genuinely looking to complete the infinity gauntlet of bad vibes. I will note, very much in a positive direction, they have requested an interview with Bears OC Declan Doyle, which normally you would not be able to, you would just get declined, right? You would just decline, the team can decline an interview for a lateral move. But Doyle does not call plays in Chicago. He would call plays in Philly, so he's allowed to interview, or his team can't decline him the interview. And obviously, this would be almost the polar opposite of the Matt Nagy type of interview where you go from stale retread who just, the Chiefs won Super Bowls. They also didn't do it on the back of their offense. I think it was clearly a failed project to bring Nagy back in, to go young, very unproven OC and Declan Doyle. This is more teams should be doing this. This is the obvious move.
Denny, what were you saying on Matt Nagy?
It would be the topping off of the toxicity bucket, right? And you're just okay, well, we're all full now. Now we have another guy that no one can stand. In Matt Nagy. I don't have anything personally against Matt Nagy. I just want folks to know that.
I do. I'll say this. I do. What he's done to Mahomes, I take personally. But you're a better man than I am. I'll say that.
I will say that as an observer of, coaching machinations and different ways that coaches try to position themselves, it is kind of funny that Matt Nagy had a whole media glow up in December where he was positioned in several major media outlets as a guaranteed locked in next head coach. And the Titans and everybody else said, no, thank you.
Yep. Talked to Matt Nagy once or that's dude, we totally got our wires crossed. We made it clear this was just a courtesy. All right.
Yeah.
You were the interview, quote unquote, took place over iMessage. you do understand that, right? You got to understand this was not a real interview. We're sorry your guy Matt didn't get that, but this is not a real interview.
Yeah. It's pretty embarrassing that he was given platforms to position himself and show himself publicly as yes, I'm ready. I'm now ready to be a head coach again. Everybody don't worry. No one worry. I'm ready again. Okay. America, you can relax. Matt Nagy's back. And no one wanted him.
We turned off.
You've got to respect Mike, the GM of the Titans, Mike Borgonzi, I believe is how you say his name, going to ownership like, I got this friend, you're going to love him. He's the coolest, chillest dude. And then immediately after the party's over, the ownership's like, wow, that guy sucked. You are not hiring him.
And Mike Borgonzi has just lost the next Titans power struggle. He does not realize that next year's fate was decided today, actually. Speaking of next year, today, at this moment, who do we think actually ends up the Bills' next head coach? I saw Ben Solak on ESPN was like, actually, this isn't even that good of an opening. I kind of don't really agree with that. It still has Josh Allen. They were just very, very patient with Sean McDermott, 9 years, longer than you'd usually last in the NFL. Do either of you have a strong feel or lean on who even ends up the next Bills coach? Is it just as simple as it's Brian Daboll? Or
it probably is.
Yeah,
it probably is Daboll. Diana Rossini reported that the understanding was that if Daboll doesn't get the Bills job, then he'll end up in Tennessee as Robert Saleh's OC. I think that makes sense. Probably okay for Cam Ward purposes, but I would think Daboll lands there. But I'm very interested in this Grant Udinski kid. Who is, I think, 6 months older than Josh Allen, around there.
So we're absolutely loving the head coach is getting his driver's license during the final 2 to 3 years.
I'm Udinski curious. I want to see what a young offensive mind with probably the most potent offensive weapon in the NFL can do. I'd like to see that experiment.
I too want to see what Grant Udinski does with Keon Coleman. Save Keon's career.
I was actually talking about Curtis Samuel.
So. Yeah, Grant, you've got to save Ty Johnson's career. All right.
Right. We could let's just name some bad Bills receivers. Ready?
Just Shavers. I'm only taking the job if Shavers is ready for camp.
I mean, you say Shavers, he's probably the best receiver they have.
That is true. Kyle, do you think it's just going to be Daboll? It certainly seems that way.
Practice squad or Andy Isabella? Next question. Sorry, I was still in the last segment where we named our favorite Bills players. Yeah, I do agree. I think the most likely outcome is Daboll. In the same vein as Denny, or similar enough vein, Clint Kubiak would be my preferred option if I'm the team. In the same vein of like, this guy's had some success recently as an offensive mastermind. Let's finally do that, as opposed to going half toe in the water of offensive mastermind, half toe in the water of retread and Daboll. But I don't think Daboll's a bad hire. Like, I would want to go even higher ceiling. I agree that like Udinski would be a very interesting hire. I think Kubiak also very interesting hire. As long as they go offense though, and it's not like true retread, which I don't really think Daboll sort of qualifies as an ugly retread. I get that he probably should have another. I'm like of both minds where I don't know. He got a decent season out of Daniel Jones once. Also, the next time we saw Daniel Jones,
Adam Gase got a decent season out of Jay Cutler once. These kind of things.
And also, the next time we saw Daniel Jones on a new team, it was like, okay, so this is clearly better. Like, why wasn't Daboll doing more of this? So, I'd be underwhelmed by Daboll, but I don't think it's like a truly bad hire. Teams make truly bad hires. That wouldn't be one of them. But you can also make, even if they're not like the most likely outcome for Udinski or Kubiak, isn't that it's just a home run, right? Home runs just aren't guaranteed. But it feels like of the coaches that are available, the one that's most likely to be a home run is these young offensive minds. So that would be my preferred option. Daboll's fine, though.
It's just not the right situation, I feel like, to try something was pretty desperate. It's like, no, these guys could be geniuses, Nate Scheelhaus, Grant Udinski, but the reality is experience is overrated, I'm sure. You do need to have like some experience. They are really pushing the envelope of just not having been around long enough.
I honestly have a hard time, as a 42-year-old man, I have a hard time thinking of a 30-year-old man as a head coach. Is that the head of a whole organization? Like, you would have to be so far beyond your years in like, emotional and psychological maturity that you would have to be just a massive outlier, like in every way. And a 30-year-old, like a guy like born in the late 90s is going to coach an NFL team.
It's crazy. I do think though, like, do the Bills really need, like, their coach can be Josh Allen? Like, who can lead the locker room into battle? Josh got this.
That's kind of why I think that Brian Daboll just makes sense. Brian Daboll makes sense as a short-term hire. Like, you're not really hiring Brian Daboll like this is a 15-year answer.
Okay, but I feel like I'm giving into this mindset that every head coach has to be a supercharged alpha cheerleader. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't know when that happened, but I guess that is.
We're getting farther away from that, to be honest.
No, not at all. That's why Ben Johnson was hired. That's
he's an outlier, just like Dan Campbell's an outlier. Most of the time, it's like the Shanny Bros, and another Shanny alpha over here. But
like Sean McVay screaming and running around, and he's all muscular and everything.
He doesn't yell at the players though. He's not an alpha, really. He's not an alpha. He's not an alpha. He's an alpha. Yeah. He's an alpha. He's a modern alpha.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Mike McDonald is a good model of someone who kind of keeps his head and is not completely out of his mind.
He's got alpha energy though too. But Sean McDermott.
I agree that maybe we're not trending towards like the median head coach hire as like these like strong-willed like men of character, leader of men types, but the ones that are like particularly shining right now that are in the spotlight are Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson. I mean, Sean McVay still every single year. I agree. McDonald again. These guys who maybe it's certainly not their only defining trait. Frankly, as awesome as Ben Johnson is as a personality, his defining trait is turning Caleb Williams' career around by his offense. But I do agree that seems to have become like in the past 5 or so years, it is reprioritized towards the top. Maybe not the top of the top,
because it's always
back in vogue.
It's important. It's always going to be important in a league that's about smashing into people. Like you need to really have some alpha energy, probably at the very top. Do you think Sean McDermott gets recycled for sure? Where even seems like a good landing spot. He hasn't set up any official interviews.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a lot of back channeling going on. He might be trying to just pick his spot before having to go on the interview circuit. Denny, you have any strong feelings, suggestions there?
I mean, the Cardinals make sense in that. I think they would be very happy to have him. But do you really want to work for the Bidwells? Like you really want to put yourself in that position? I mean, the Cardinals are bad for a reason, and it's because ownership doesn't really care about being good. It's like how the Bengals were for a long time and kind of still are. I mean, they're coasting on talent because they happen to have Burrow and Chase, but the Cardinals not really a winning franchise on purpose. So is McDermott willing to do that? I would think maybe not.
McDermott, the Cardinals, it strikes me as a kind of a good situation for both. The Cardinals are the worst opening by far, but so they kind of need to get lucky to get someone like Sean McDermott. I would say, who knows? Maybe McDermott's not even actually that great. He probably is a top 15, 16 coach at least in the NFL, but where his name might not be as hot as usual just because of the way things went down in Buffalo, because there's so many other big names this year. So maybe he's more open to a job like Arizona than he typically would be. So that helps the Cardinals, and maybe McDermott too. He sees a desperate franchise. Or McDermott, by the way, people kind of forget. #people forget. Like, was the one who picked Brandon Beane in Buffalo. Like, he actually brought in Beane. He was hired before Beane, and they kind of hand-picked him to be his GM, and I guess they drifted apart. Where Arizona might be a good spot for McDermott to get a similar setup. So I do like that diet. But the Cardinals Nation or Mafia or whatever, they're like begging. They want McDermott real bad because they just knew they were going to get the next Jonathan Gannon, and then they saw this Hail Mary, this McDermott Hail Mary, potentially landing in their laps.
Hire was always bad. It was always
bad. The Mike McDaniel hire going to be bad in LA. The Eagle has landed in LA, folks. On the whole, it feels like a great fit, Denny Carter. But will Jim Harbaugh's personality overpower maybe what we call Mike McDaniel's creativity? Because there's head coaches, some put their stamp on things greater than others. Everything about the Chargers that says Jim Harbaugh stamp all over it. And like McDaniel for a play caller is like a very well-defined man. And like, he's not the kind of guy you're bringing in if you're not wanting him to call plays like the way he wants to do it. So I just do wonder if maybe they're overestimating the degree to which they can coexist. But he's got a stable head coach. He's got offensive line talent. He's got skill core talent. He has the quarterback. How do we feel about this fit in LA?
I would be surprised, honestly, and it's a good question. And I thought about it before the show. I honestly would be surprised if that happens, if Jim Harbaugh's personality and dominance just overwhelms Mike McDaniel. I mean, I would think that there were discussions about like, I will be running the offense. Like it's my offense right now. And I think it actually can work because there's not a huge gap between the Harbaugh way and the McDaniel way, because McDaniel is a run game guy. He is a run game guy. He's a shanty guy. He created a hyper efficient run game in Miami. They were never super pass heavy. I think that's something that, I see in some football discourse is like McDaniel's like the pass happy guy, right? That's not true. Like no. He was never that, right? So now he goes to a Chargers team with an actual quarterback, with I think pretty good receivers. I know the offensive line for the Chargers is always hurt, always catastrophically injured, but we can't assume that forever, right? At full health, this offensive line is really good, like potentially. So I think it's a great fit. I think he can make the most out of the skill position players that Greg Roman really clearly didn't have much interest in here.
No, he did not. And I think Harbaugh too, it's like this an admission, or it's like a moment of humility, which is kind of rare from these kind of coaches, especially in their 60s, for him to go like outside his coaching tree and just, to basically the agreement clearly now is we're giving you the keys to the car.
I think so.
I'm skeptical that can maintain the entire season, Kyle Dvorchak, but I've also seen some people like, oh man, Omarion Hampton to the moon now. He's not really a Devin Achane type runner though.
Yeah.
Anything specific on his fit with these individual talents? By the way, producer Adam points out one of the all-time like Twitter flame wars was Dolphins and Chargers fans just endlessly litigating Tua versus Justin Herbert. And now Mike McDaniel, quite the betrayal, has chosen Herbert over Tua. And how do we feel about McDaniel and some of these individual fits, Kyle?
Yeah, I agree with Denny on the whole that I think if you bring in Mike McDaniel, it's to do Mike McDaniel stuff. And more specifically, we saw the Chargers be like relatively flexible in how they play offense over the past years, not by choice, but like 2 years ago, whenever they lost their running backs early in the year, they immediately became the most pass heavy team in the NFL.
Yeah, Kyle, I almost wonder if they had like Greg Roman buyer's remorse. Like this actually is not who we needed for this offense.
Yeah, I mean, they should have. That would have been the correct feeling. So I think that would check out. They've been flexible because they've been forced to, but there are teams where even when they have injuries at running back are like, well, it's the fourth man up and he's getting 20 carries in a game. They changed the way they played offense late this year because they had so many offensive line injuries. So I do think Harbaugh's not dogmatic in that capacity. He definitely has things that he wants to do, but I don't think he's so stubborn that when he sees an opportunity to go out and hire Mike McDaniel, who could change the fate of this offense, it seems like he's going to do it. And it's so funny. I think Denny and I were maybe doing VODs or doing a show last week where I said, this is the ideal outcome. I do not think the Harbaughs have a track record of going out of their coaching tree. And currently, John is just exporting every single former Raven he can to the Giants because that's what they always do. So I think going so out of character and hiring McDaniel tells us that he's going to let McDaniel do that kind of stuff. If he wanted to run the offense a certain way, he would just hire guys who would run it that way. So I think it's going to be good for everyone involved. I'm really interested to see how we get like Oronde Gadsden usage because we saw some really great for fantasy, but worked really well for real life too. Stuff for like Jonnu Smith. I kind of agree that the one odd man out here in terms of the skill scheme fit is Omarion Hampton. He's not really that Achane one cut and just runs away. I do think on the other hand, outside of like not quite having track speed, which Raheem Mostert quite literally had like NCAA track speed, I do think he could be much more of that thunder element that Raheem Mostert brought in the first year that he was with Achane. And Achane was truly a part-time player. It was an awesome part-time role. But Raheem Mostert scored, I want to say 21 touchdowns that year. It was like 18 on the ground and 3 through the air.
It was 18 on the ground. I know that much, yeah.
And I think he caught 3 as well. And I think at worst, that type of role, not that he's going to score 21 touchdowns, but the type of elite goal line role and being the 2-down thumper who can still hit home runs. Because Hampton has good top-end speed. It's just not Achane. Very few players in the NFL have Achane top-end speed. If he can fulfill more of that type of role, I do think there's still a really good outcome for him. But I do agree that he doesn't have the Achane archetype. Very few players do.
I wanted to say on Ladd McConkey, the film knowers and the ball knowers last year were saying, for the love of God, get this guy to run some crossing patterns and get him the ball, right? Nobody in this offense ran crossing patterns last year. It's just something Greg Roman just simply does not do, even if it's for the best, right? The year before, McConkey went on that tear late in the season, in part because they were hammering crossing routes. what does McDaniel do? What did he do with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? Crossing routes. We're going to see Ladd McConkey crossing routes forever next season. I'm actually trying not to get too far ahead of myself here, but I love McConkey as a monster bounce back option for next year.
My final thought on this is this might be another negative leading indicator for the Eagles. I think the Eagles wanted McDaniel somewhat fairly badly. Oh, that'd be kind of weird, him reuniting with Vic Fangio, who seemed to have no respect for Mike McDaniel. And just like the fact that he passed up the Eagles for the Chargers, I wouldn't feel great about if I were the Eagles. Probably more overall moldable talent on the Chargers. It's close. Very, very close. And also maybe a positive indicator for Jim Harbaugh, where maybe he got the assurances like, you can do your thing here. Like I promise. Sure, that will change in week 4 after we're 1-3. And we'll immediately not let you do your thing.
Well, that's the thing now. They have to have a commitment, or else this is not going to work. Like if the team gets antsy, if it's a slow start or whatever, then this won't work. And if Jim Harbaugh is like, we are doing it my way now that we started off 2-3 or whatever, we're doing it my way, then I think this goes south in a hurry. But I love Herbert in the system, and like I said, McConkey I think can cook here.
Charger seasons thankfully usually go south late, so things hopefully will get off to a good start for Mike McDaniel. Anything to say about Zac Robinson taking the Bucs job? Talk about a job with a lot of talent. Mike McDaniel, I think, was maybe a candidate there. Even would have been a really intriguing fit, but they didn't like their 1 year of the Grizzard experience. Strong feelings on Zac Robinson the past 2 years. The coordinator in Atlanta, I think he's been the coordinator elsewhere as well. Do they just need more experienced hands, someone more competent? Denny, I see you grimacing, nodding. Kyle doing the same thing. What do you say, Denny?
What I've read about Zac Robinson's time in Atlanta, the offense ended up being very predictable as to how they used shotgun, how they used motion or didn't use motion, and how they used, Bijan Robinson kind of predictably. And even with that, Bijan Robinson produced. So I'm not super inspired by this, but you probably can't get much worse than the Bucs were over the final 10 weeks of the season last year.
Part of the McVay tree to Kyle. Any final thoughts on Zac Robinson, or is it time to start previewing these games?
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, the offense was surprisingly competent. They were top 15 in both EPA per play and total points scored. And it's a year in which their $180 million quarterback was so bad he had to be benched at the end of the season. And they still came away from all 17 games with it only slightly, but a slightly above average offense. Last year, they kind of took another step back. I think he's a middle of the road hire at best, probably the 14th to 18th best offensive coordinator. But frankly, they did not even come close to having the 14th best offensive coordinator last year. So it's an improvement, even if it's not a home run. And that's maybe all you need, because Baker is legitimately good. And there really are good weapons here. Just like you said, have someone with some experience who can just keep the train on the tracks and let the talent shine through. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm excited for Mike McDaniel in LA. I'll be tepidly in on the Bucs this year.
I still just wonder if the Bucs struggles were about Baker Mayfield wrecking a shoulder. And we have a sample size of this happening before, where he wrecked his non-throwing shoulder and then was awful for the Browns. And people thought he was a bust. And then he was pretty good the intervening 3 or 4 years. Then he did it again, and then it was really bad. And so maybe it was just about the shoulder. Maybe the Bucs don't have as big of problems as even they think. But I was kind of hoping they'd go a little more creative to try to shore up what was going on in Tampa Bay there. But Zac Robinson, not a disastrous outcome. Bo Nix getting hurt was a disastrous outcome. We'll tell you all about that and more when we come right back after this. The countdown is on to the Winter Olympics in Milan. Don't miss watching the best athletes in the world compete for a chance to win gold. It all begins Friday, February 6th with the opening ceremony on NBC and Peacock. You guys, you set in the DVR already for curling?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to be watching it live?
Yes, that's actually a good point. That's true. No need to record it if you're going to be watching it live.
I've been putting together curling DFS lineups.
And I was just NBC probably wouldn't was talking about that. I don't know what gambling is like on the Olympics. Is that allowed? Is that on the apps?
I don't know.
I'm sure it's a very state by state situation, as all gambling is. But I probably.
Producer Adam says you can.
Yeah,
because I've got a new. So gambling went live in Missouri in December. I've got a few bonus Bucs buddies at this point. Like I'm just living off the bonus Bucs, like making like micro bets all day, every day. Very healthy behavior, I'm sure.
Yes, super healthy.
We were talking like, can you even do the Olympics? And apparently Adam says you can. So
you're going to be live betting curling.
That's curling is where I was going with that. Yeah, curling, man, one of the spectacles of our
You're going to be like sweep harder, man, sweep harder.
So man, the Winter Olympics are just crazy. Did you see the guy fall out of the bobsled the other day?
I did.
The bobsled's scary, man.
That was talking about something you truly could not pay me to do.
No,
truly could not pay me to do. Thankfully, we got people out there doing it for us on NBC, and so check it out, NBC Peacock, the entire Winter Games with divisional trilogies, all the rage this season. The Seahawks and Rams meet up for the highest stakes game yet, and they're gosh, I botched this real bad. I knew this would be too hard to read. The highest stakes are their 3 matchups, though. Denny, the Seahawks are 2.5-point favorites at home. They played to a draw during the regular season. They went 1-1. The Rams had a 58-57 point advantage. Seattle's been the league's most impressive team over the past month, but this is no sure thing in terms of give me a victory at home. What do the Hawks have to do to get back to the Super Bowl for the first time in over 10 years, Denny?
I mean, they're going to try to do the make a turbo giga run heavy thing, which sometimes works for them and sometimes goes awry if Sam Darnold gets caught in the blender, which we like you said, Pat, he loves to do that. And
I'm being blended. This is
and honestly, and you guys know this, probably the viewers know this as well, the listeners. The Rams put him in a blender more than anyone. And we saw that in both matchups. Week 11 disaster led to 44 pass attempts on 48 dropbacks for Darnold. That's by far the most of the season for him. He kind of got away with it in their second matchup in week 16. But in both games, the Seahawks tried to be run heavy. They had to obviously abandon that in the first matchup. Last week, Sam Darnold only had 17 dropbacks, and I think that's kind of what they're going for here. It's a fragile game plan, but with this defense at home, I think it can work.
Even with no Zach Charbonnet, Denny Carter, and now it's one guy.
Well, look, I this is going to sound harsh. I think the Seahawks caught a break with Charbonnet going down. Because
I'm not nearly as certain about that.
Because Ken Walker's better. Like you've said many times, you get these guys more carries, rhythm back type stuff, and they produce. And Ken Walker has done that. He did that last week. 3 touchdowns, 115 yards or whatever on only 19 carries. So I actually think this team is better without Charbonnet, without this obsession with getting Charbonnet the football. And also George Haloni is back possibly off of IR. He came off he had his window open, his practice window open. He's the same as Charbonnet. If they really want to do that, they can just plug that guy in.
Here's what I would say to all that. I'm going to cut you off right there.
Go ahead.
Kenneth Walker is better at what he does than what Zach Charbonnet is at what he does. But we think this is a very sharp, smart coaching staff. It stands to reason there's some reason why for 18 games they insisted on the approach that they had, where they just wouldn't cut Kenneth Walker loose the way we wanted. It didn't make sense to us, really. Clearly, it made sense to them. There's some reason they're doing that. Charbonnet gets hurt. Kenneth Walker goes nuts in the divisional round. It's against a 49ers run defense that basically ceased to exist. And, and the best possible running back game script too, like a desperate, downtrodden, gambling defense. It was a dream setup basically for Kenneth Walker. I would not be surprised if it's nothing like that in this game, and they might find themselves missing Zach Charbonnet. And there's some reason they feature Zach Charbonnet. Sometimes they really are. A lot of times with the coaching staffs, I would assume, actually we really do know better. This was just dumb. You should not have been doing this. I hesitate to think that with Mike McDaniel, though. There's some reason for the insistence on involving Charbonnet. And I just wonder if we're going to get Like, yeah, yikes. Kenneth Walker cannot do that kind of run at all. And there's a reason why Zach Charbonnet was basically being like sacrificed constantly between the tackles. And there's just some reason for that. This is my dark take on, because it could also just be, never mind. Love Mike McDonald. Not really sure what he was thinking featuring Zach Charbonnet all year, though. That is a potential outcome. Kyle, do you have any thoughts to add on the eternal Charbonnet-Kenneth Walker war?
I'm a little more with Denny that just like Charbonnet's numbers have been really brutal this year. I do agree, though, that I think really he should be getting 4 carries a game, and they should all come with 2 yards left to go, like to the first down or to the goal line. I agree with that small portion of what you said, Pat. He is better at a specific thing. Ken Walker is just better at the things he's better at by a larger margin. There should be like an 18-6 carry split, and it's usually 14-14.
Right.
I don't think there's a reason really for Zach Charbonnet to see 14 carries a game. I can actually very much understand when you need 1 yard. It's 4th and 1. Who are you giving it to? The more reliable player probably is Zach Charbonnet, specifically picking up short amounts of yards. He's the all-time, like, ask for 3 yards, he'll get 3 yards. Ask for 4 yards, you're getting 3 yards. Sometimes 3 yards really does matter. Does it matter 14 times a game when the alternative is give the home run hitter 10 more carries, 6 more carries, 8 more carries? Should probably be trying for more cracks at the home run. I think this probably does. I agree with Denny. It does end up being a net positive for the offense, like taking away some very low empty calorie carries. If they get stuffed at the goal line because they gave it to Ken Walker, though, that one particular instance also wouldn't surprise me and would frankly be hilarious.
I will say just real quick on the DFS front, as far as Ken Walker goes. Can I get into that right now?
Well, I was to say we will circle back to that.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll talk about that.
We'll probably break down the Seahawks DFS in just a minute. But while you guys were talking, by the way, I've been on the Seahawks bandwagon all year. Our preseason article, I actually picked them to make the playoffs. Like, I've been a believer, like a big time believer in Mike McDonald. I do just feel like for 15-3, it's hard to be an unimpressive 15-3 team. They led the league in point differential. It just feels like they're so execution based. Like, there's not any one area I'm like, man, the Seahawks, like, you just can't hang with them. Like on, in the secondary and in the running game, where I don't think, not that anyone's saying the Seahawks are invincible, but like I don't find them to be a particularly like imposing, like, we have no chance of beating the Seahawks.
Not imposing. And I think that mostly has to do with the idea of Sam Darnold as a guy who could completely fall apart at any moment, and he remains that,
So if it's not that imposing of a matchup for the Rams, again, the Seahawks are favored for a reason. They earned this the hard way. But this is a winnable game for the Rams. What does a Rams victory look like, Kyle?
I mentioned it last week, so I don't have to go too deep into detail, but obviously find an outlet, plug in the blender, get Sam Darnold near the blender, and he'll walk into it. Specifically, under pressure, Darnold has the 11th highest turnover-worthy play rate this year. He's only graded as number 20 in PFF passing rate, which is not terrible. Like, frankly, we're giving him too much crap for being like the moment he's pressured, he collapses. He's bad under pressure. He's probably an average to below average quarterback under pressure. But the thing is, when he's under pressure, it means he's not in a clean pocket. And he has been a monster from a clean pocket this year. First in the NFL in yards per attempt, 5th in PFF passing grade. Really, the thing you want is just to not make his life easy. You don't have to give him the hardest time in the world. He doesn't need to face the best defense in the NFL. Just don't let him absolutely light you up. And I think that really will be important for the Rams, who have the 3rd highest pressure rate this year and the 3rd highest quick pressure rate. So not only do they get to the quarterback, but they do it quickly. So I do think that's one obvious outcome. But from the Rams passing attack, it could be the running game. If they win this game, it's not going to be their freaking running game. It's going to be through the passing. I do think this is a tough matchup. No surprises here. There is not one clear way to beat the Seahawks. I will note, the farther you throw downfield on them, the better they get. They are the best team, or one of the best teams, at defending deep shots. They're one of the best teams at defending intermediate shots. And they're, quote, only like a top 10 team against short passes. Mm-hmm. They're only like a average to maybe slightly below average team in terms of, these are all in terms of yards per attempt on passes behind the line of scrimmage. They actually give up a decent amount of yak on passes shorter than 10 yards downfield. It's largely because they have done what every defense strives to do nowadays, is they take away the big play. They are not an easy team to get these long chunk gains against. And you're more than happy to give up a few extra yards of yak every now and then because you didn't get burned for a 30-yard score. So I think that means, obviously, we're going to see a ton of Puka Nacua. Also maybe means a little more work to go around for the tight ends, maybe a little less for Devontae Adams, who
See, the Rams are kind of a nightmare matchup. If I hope they don't try to paper cut us in the short areas, because Puka can do that. Devontae, one of the all-time masters of that. All 7 of their tight ends are capable of doing that. I mean, Kyron Williams can even do that. Where that does feel like maybe a misalignment for the Seahawks. Wow, the Rams have the personnel. If that's where our weakness is, the Rams have the personnel to pick us apart there.
Devontae seem healthy to you guys? Does not seem very.
No, yeah, not close.
Doesn't even seem close. He really needs the 2 weeks for the Super Bowl rest if they obviously make it.
So when you're talking to just about who has the advantage in this game, Sam Darnold, as you mentioned, utterly atrocious the first game against the Rams. Second game, pretty atrocious in the first half. Then he does rally. He stands and delivers, meets the moment in the second half of game 2 at the Rams. I would say it'd have to be facing Sam Darnold a third time feels like advantage for the defense. I just he's not going to have any new tricks, Denny, for the Rams defense.
Right. Darnold has struggled big time against when defenses shift at the snap. When they show blitz and don't blitz, or vice versa, and Darnold just doesn't adjust to those things. The Rams do that really well. I don't expect them to stop here. And I think it really does come down to, can Darnold survive this defense and the tricks it's going to try to play on him? And if the answer is yes, I think the Seahawks win pretty easily. And if the answer is no, they probably lose, but they don't definitely lose. I think the defense for the Seattle is at the point, it's healthy, it's at home, is at the point where it can possibly carry a subpar Darnold at this point.
That's a really good point of the Seahawks. This isn't a Broncos situation where they don't need a perfect game to win.
No,
the Seahawks can still play well off their best game and still beat the Rams as good as the Rams are. So Denny, what is the DFS outlook for Seattle? Is this a motherload smash spot for
right,
for instance?
Right. So I wrote about this, and it's actually live on the site right now. If you're making DFS lineups for this 4-game slate, you don't want to get too fancy on the 4-game slate. And I think there are some scenarios in which Ken Walker Giga Chalk doesn't do well. And it's because
it wouldn't be there's the scenarios are that he's not good.
Stop it. He is pretty good. If he rips off a 50-yard touchdown, then this all looks silly. But if he doesn't get that, which, not highly likely, he honestly, he could lose out on some very valuable touches. And what I mean by that is they did not use him inside the 10-yard line at all this year. The Seahawks were bottom 3 in pass rate over expected inside the 10. So they were really just hammering the run in that area. Like I said, my guy, George Holani, it's
Holani season is what you're saying.
Also, but there's a second. So there's not only Holani as the problem. There's AJ Barner doing the tush push stuff. And Mike McDaniel told ESPN a few days ago, he said, with Charbonnet out, he's our guy at the goal line, you will see more AJ Barner. So
Rams are going to the Super Bowl.
No. I don't care about all that. I just care about the DFS thing. So if you're going to fade, so here's what I would say. If you're going to fade Ken Walker, and trust me, I've made some lineups the last couple of days. That's tough. That's a tough call. But if you're going to fade him, I think you have to necessarily play AJ Barner because he would be the guy who benefits.
This is as sicko as it gets. Adam points out by far the prohibitive betting favorite to lead the 4-team slate in rushing this weekend is Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
Kyron Williams second. Any Seahawks pass catching stuff beyond, I guess Barner was the beyond JSN. It's not Shaheed season or any of these.
No, not Shaheed. I mean, if you're gonna do like a Seahawks stack, it's not gonna be popular. So you got that going for you if you're in a large field. But like it would be Darnold, JSN, and Barner, I think would be the stack.
Denny laid it out well for Seattle. Kyle, on the other side of the ball, the Rams did cut down their backfield rotation in Chicago. They spread the ball around a lot. In the skill core, maybe that has something to do with Devontae not being 100% healthy. Who are the DFS priorities for the Rams?
Like I said, I think probably a decent amount of short intermediate passing, even like screens behind the line of scrimmage stuff. And obviously that's Puka. I don't need to tell you that. But the tight end situation is really weird right now. Very frustrating because they did not have a single tight end run more or even exactly half the routes last week. Colby Parkinson came in just below that, got just under half the routes. And it wasn't Tyler Higbee, who I kind of thought would be, I mean, he's been operating late in the year as the team's like 1B tight end. He barely ran any routes. It was all Terrence Ferguson. And maybe that was a matchup thing. I even remember saying last week that like Terrence Ferguson is a good seam stretching tight end. And that's actually a spot where he might be able to win. Like he doesn't have a great fantasy day, but maybe that's why he ran all those routes. And now that this isn't that kind of spot, it's almost the exact opposite spot where you just want guys to check down to. Maybe Tyler Higbee comes back into the fold. I do think you're probably just flipping coins between Higbee and Ferguson as to who the second tight end is. Colby Parkinson, while the route ceiling is still very limited, is clearly locked in as the number one tight end. It's just not the normal routes you get from a number one. But if you're stacking Rams, very much he is the leading non-wide receiver option. And you truly are just gambling, trying to get a very unique outcome for guys like Ferguson, guys like Higbee.
Ferguson, 21% of the air yards last week for the Rams. Puka and Adams were just slightly above that, both of them. But I think the big play potential is with Ferguson. But yeah, I mean, Parkinson is the guy who's going to probably lead the tight end group in targets here.
Is Corum an odd man out again? Are they just following through on their pledge if they wanted to keep Kyren healthier for the postseason and now they're committing more to Kyren? Or any strong feelings on this, or is it just a classic I don't know?
Well, they have stopped being cute with the backfield, and Kyren is the clear lead back over the past two games. You know, like we talked a couple weeks ago, like in the playoffs, teams usually are like we're simply just going to give the ball to our best players. Sean McVay really likes Kyren Williams, so Kyren Williams is the clear RB1 right now.
Kyren Williams, you heard it here first, Denny. It's just a smash spot. Blake Corum might even be a healthy scratch per Denny.
Oh, whoa.
No, absolutely not. The Broncos were already this postseason's most disrespected team, Kyle Dvorchak. Then they lost their quarterback. As such, the Pats are now 5.5-point road favorites. Let's just cut right to the chase. Does Denver have a chance? What would a victory look like? It was 4.5 points, then it went to 5.5. People losing faith.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to go into this like, Stiddy could do it. We really have a lot of faith in Stiddy on this show. I don't know, man. I know he did. I mentioned this when we were doing the recap show the night he got hurt, that he had a really good preseason this year. He was like PFF's top graded, good yards per attempt. Then you look back at what he did his last time playing actual NFL football in 2023. It was pretty ugly. It wasn't objectively bad. It was more so they didn't ask him to do anything, and he did not do anything. He made 2 starts in 2023 with Sean Payton. He had 0 big-time throws, basically. It's exactly what she sounds like, charted by PFF. 0 big-time throws. Also, only 1 turnover-worthy play. He was just, don't make any mistakes. Also, don't do anything cool because we don't think you're capable of it. His leading receiver in terms of catches was Javonte Williams way back then 3 years ago. In targets, it was tied between Javonte and Jerry Jeudy. I think we should expect a lot of designed checkdowns, essentially. We should expect a lot of Marvin Mims, especially with Pat Bryant practicing in a limited capacity with a concussion. Not going to get a full week of practice if he does end up playing. And that's true if he ends up clearing concussion protocol. So Marvin Mims design stuff. RJ Harvey hopefully sees more work through the air. He's not the greatest running back between the tackles. Beyond that, I actually do think it'd be good if Pat Bryant could play because he could play some power slot, maybe make some easy catches for Stidham. I do think, though, that I just don't know if Stidham has the horses to win this game.
So I guess Denny, do you want to add something real quick? I was going to ask Kyle about J.K. Dobbins. So you add real quick, Denny.
Yeah, in those 2 games. It's just 2 games, but Stidham was 25th out of 34 qualifying quarterbacks in dropback success rate. He was 26th, the completion rate over expected. He had a respectable 8.3 air yards per attempt, which ranked 15th out of 34 quarterbacks. But mostly he was a check down merchant, like Kyle just said. 21% of his attempts were checkdowns.
It was like he wasn't afraid to throw deep. He was just not good at it.
Yeah,
so his success all came on checkdowns. Because like you said, he didn't have this putrid ADOT. It was just that when he did throw deep, it didn't work out, which is why he had a bad completion rate over expected, like you pointed out.
Inverse Daniel Jones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Stidham, he had a pretty high downfield rate and a pretty high check down rate. So really nothing in the middle.
Stidham, by the way, in that 2-game sample size, outdueled the Chargers' Easton Stick for a Week 17 victory.
Oh my god!
In 2023. So anyone saying Jarrett Stidham's never won a big game doesn't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Also, we have to mention Stidham, very handsome, so we can't.
And Stidham, as we have mentioned more seriously, for whatever reason, was a priority for Sean Payton. So
yeah,
in the back of Sean Payton's brain, clearly you go out and like tactically target a backup quarterback. Where you think, if I need to win one game, like Jarrett Stidham can never be a 17-game starter. Like I could make him my marionette for one game. So he does have faith in him. Sean Payton has faith in a lot of strange people, though. He's going to have faith in his running game, Kyle. The run game clearly is going to be a focus with the backup quarterback under center. The Patriots' run defense, as we had been talking about, had become really vulnerable. But then you guys mentioned last week they'd gotten healthier and were a lot better. The Patriots' run defense has been really good this postseason, actually. All this is leading up to me saying, what happens to this Broncos backfield if J.K. Dobbins finally comes back? It's been out since Week 10 with the knee injury. They're trying to have him give it a go. I'm sure it's taken on a greater sense of urgency with Bo Nix out, where they might push the envelope in a way teams just don't really do anymore. Kyle, what would a potential J.K. Dobbins return mean for this Broncos rushing attack?
I mean, he's a solid running back, but coming off of this injury-related absence, I think you wouldn't expect him to be as efficient as he was earlier in the year, nor would you expect him to see as much work as he did earlier in the year. I think my comp, if I'm like doing DFS projections, would be what we saw from David Montgomery in the playoffs last year. He missed the final month of the season. Then he comes back, and he just gets easily outcarried by Jahmyr Gibbs. I think it was 7-14. I think he got stonewalled a handful of times too, just didn't look fully healthy. Not just the injury comparison, but specifically coming in after such a long layoff in which the younger, more exciting back has been getting more and more work. I don't think you can project him to lead the backfield in carries, and you're not projecting him to be the home run hitting type. So there's really not much fantasy value to be had with him. And also, as you mentioned, this defense struggled in the final month of the year as they were getting banged up. But for the first 2.5 months of the year and the past 2 weeks in the playoffs, maybe the best run defense in the NFL. And obviously they have shut down both of their opponents' run games in the playoffs. I don't want a split backfield getting, even if, frankly, for RJ Harvey, 12, 14 carries versus the best run defense in the NFL on an offense led by Jarrett Stidham. It's a really unappealing DFS play.
This is, in like a lot of ways, Sean Payton's dream. Like for the Broncos to win this game, it is all on him.
Yep.
Like this is what every Kyle Shanahan play caller dreams of. He obviously predates Kyle Shanahan, but I just mean the people who think they're the star. Sean Payton's always kind of thought, I'm the star as a play caller. It's just his dream. Like it's truly on him. But I just feel like his plans are always very conservative, and they're conservative in their down to down approach and like overly wild. Like the big picture approach, like no matter what in the second quarter, we're faking a punt. Like, that's just what's happening here. We're faking a punt.
Yeah.
Like, we're declaring an onside kick on the game's opening kick. Like, I really don't think we should do this. And we did not recover it. Yards. And the Patriots have the ball on the wrong side of the field.
None of our guys got within 3 yards.
So that is also hope that Sean Payton is built for this. I just don't know. So, Denny, are the New England Patriots kind of a weird situation to go on the road for a conference title tilt? And the mentality, the expectation is you need to win this game. Like this is a game where you need to feel shame if you lose this game. So against that backdrop, what is their likely offensive approach going to be as they try to get back to the Super Bowl?
Let me just say, just real quick on the Denver backfield, don't forget, if you're making DFS lineups, Dobbins had 138 rushing attempts to 50 rushing attempts for RJ Harvey before the Week 10 injury. So he was the clear lead back. I don't know if that'll.
Yeah, so weird with the injury. And they clearly don't have a ton of faith in Harvey. Like they're not cutting him loose. Even to me, if I'm looking for Hail Marys to throw, it's like, I don't know, put the game on the rookie's shoulders.
The Broncos' run game overall has not been great.
The whole time Sean Payton's been in Denver, it's not been great.
It's not been great. And now they face what is a healthy, borderline elite run defense. It's not great.
Yeah, it's been belying their reputation. His reputation is like kind of a ground game maestro.
Yeah. But anyway, to the Patriots, just from a spreadsheet standpoint, the Broncos are the most extreme pass funnel in the league, however you cut it. Mostly because they stop the run at a really good rate, and because teams they see something where the Broncos are inviting them to throw deep, and the Broncos face the second highest rate of downfield passes. I'm guessing a guy like Drake May seems built for that sort of matchup. Also, only 4 teams saw more air yards against them than the Broncos this season. So I actually think that the Patriots could air it out here, as crazy as that sounds, if they do the right thing. Now, Mike Vrabel is a very conservative guy. You talked about, Pat, they have everything to lose in this game against Jarrett Stidham, even though it's on the road. Even though this is a team that's at least a year, maybe 2 years ahead of schedule, they have everything to lose. The Broncos have nothing to lose now that Bo Nix is out. That Broncos defense is going to be fired up to the nth degree to say, no, this is on us now. Like, no one believes in us. The no one believes in us lever has been switched on in the Broncos locker room, and the Denver defense says, we are bringing this home. We are winning this game. So I do think that Drake May and the Patriots are going to have a very tough way to go here, and I don't love them for DFS purposes just overall.
Drake May coming off a really impressive game against the Houston Texans where he only fumbled 4 times. It could have been 7 or 8. But
it was a lot of fumbles. It was a lot of fumbles.
How many was it? It was at least 3, I think.
No, I think you were right. It was 4. He didn't lose all 4, but I kind of think you were correct in that number.
A lot of fumbles, more than normal.
I would say look for a lot of targets to Hunter Henry and maybe even Austin Hooper.
Well, Denny, what about Matt Collins, by the way? We don't know if he's back. He's the Patriots' J.K. Dobbins. Kind of seems like he's coming back. But
it does.
What would that mean for the target? Kayshon Boutte has been playing well. I feel like they should have.
He has. Yeah, I mean, just for if you're playing DFS, that really messes things up because last 3 games without Matt Collins in the lineup, Kayshon Boutte is the air yards devourer here and in the New England offense. But when both of them are healthy, when Boutte and Hollins are healthy, then they split the air yards, and you kind of have to hope that you pick the one who hits the deep shot, who catches the deep shot, maybe scores a touchdown. So that makes it much more confusing. But again, like I said, teams have been airing it out consistently against the Broncos secondary. So I think one of these guys can get home for fantasy.
Any final thoughts on the DFS landscape in the AFC Championship game?
Boy,
this is a really, really bad 2-game DFS slate.
Yeah,
the worst you'll ever see.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hunter Henry. Don't forget about him. He's a forgettable guy, but don't forget about him. Sorry if you're listening, Hunter, but because the Broncos allow the 3rd highest rate of targets to tight ends per game, and just last week, the Bills tight ends saw 15 combined targets against these Broncos. So Hunter Henry could see volume.
Who's the chalk QB play on the 2-game slate, Kyle?
Presumably Stafford. I haven't run my stuff yet, but
it's Stafford.
So it's since it's a 2-game slate, to be like, you got to get Stiddy in there. I don't care how you do it.
I don't think so.
When Denny said Drake May is going to air it out, I was like, that's the kind of dice roll I want. I totally agree. Like, he could just get sacked a bunch. He could throw interceptions, but you were like, he's going to throw air yards. I was like, Drake May plus air yards. That's my guy. That's my guy right there. It's my dude.
I do. Yeah. I mean, I've written a lot this year in my matchup column about the Broncos specifically as a team that just sees tons of air yards against them. Now, not a lot of them are converted, but that means that there is the potential for the big play. There are some teams that force checkdowns, all game long. It's not the Broncos.
Kyle, who's your highest rostered receiver this weekend?
It'll probably end up being Boutte or Diggs because it's going to be with Drake May. The correct answer is it's going to be Puka. Among the actual interesting, the interesting way to answer the question is Patriots receivers, probably Boutte, especially if Hollins doesn't play. It will almost certainly be Boutte.
JSN, weirdly, a decent contrarian play because people are going to be flocking to Puka. I don't know.
Interesting.
Right? I mean, am I wrong there? I just feel like
it looks like he's trying to be respectful.
Rostership.
I would assume though running back salaries aren't expensive, so it's not that hard to just play the good plays. So he'll probably be less rostered than Puka, but he'll probably still be.
I think by a significant margin. I actually like jamming both of them. But...
Do you have 100% Helani exposure, Denny?
Yeah. Of course.
I like the Barner note. I like the Barner note a lot because it's a grisly slate at tight end. So like he punches in one short one like the Indiana tight end did in the national championship, and you're cooking with gas. I didn't make money on that slate, even though I jammed the Indiana tight end, and I'm handling it well. But if we could run this back with AJ Barner, I would love it.
So in that game, that Week 11 game where the Seahawks, where things went sideways for the Seahawks and Darnold dropped back 48 times, AJ Barner saw 11 targets. It was by far the most he saw all season.
So check out Denny's DFS article. Check us out Sunday night. We're going to be breaking down Championship Sunday. Myself, Denny, and Kyle. Really, really good stuff from our two analysts today. Really excited about the games, even though it is unfortunately one of the lower wattage Championship Sundays in recent memory. The good news is there's no such thing as an actually low wattage Championship Sunday. We're determining the two teams to go to the Super Bowl. Going to be a great day. Going to be a great show Sunday night. For Denny and Kyle, I'm Pat. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you later this weekend.